once again, ReZero brings an episode that's difficult to discuss. I just was walking around. Like, I probably finished this episode about 15 minutes ago. And I literally was just walking around for probably about 8 minutes or so, just lost in thought. And I didn't even acknowledge it. And whenever a show does that to me, I know. Then I really, really, really know. It struck me in the core. And, this episode of ReZero actually reminded me of a quote from a different anime. And it was very, very similar to what Pain actually said in Naruto. He says, even if people come to understand one another, they can't necessarily comprehend, truly comprehend to the core how that person feels. And I think that's what Subaru was today. I think he was a perfect example of, that quote. And I think we as an audience are a perfect example of that quote as well. We understand Subaru, right? But we did not comprehend to what degree he really is, struggling. Because you look at the mental aspect of Subaru's character, we got episode 18, man. We got that. And we thought that was the moment. It was the moment that, allowed him to take the next step forward. But we thought that was the mental breakthrough of you're finally, you're going to take on all the burden and you're going to be able to handle it. But little do we know, there's, trials and tribulations will only get harder as this young man goes through this stuff. And this episode, we finally see him, able to say, I can return by death. His secret's out. It's been spoken. The words can actually be said to someone other than his damn self and his own damn mind. That had a lot of weight, and we get to see, he's like, I can return by death, I can return, and he kept saying, I, until he couldn't speak anymore, because he had to get it out. He had to say those words that have been stuck in his throat this whole damn time, but he couldn't say them. He can tell anybody and everyone about his secret in the most indirect, subtextual kind of manner, but not to the point to where it's literally a riddle to read. It's a riddle. And, it's amazing because I was wondering, I was like, actually, now it's a witch of greed, right? She is one of the original 7 witches from what we know. And so I was wondering, she has to have something to her. There has to be some kind of, mental aspect to where she can overcome this whole, whatever this is, spell or curse or whatever Subaru is going through. And I was like, there has to be some person that can. If anyone can, it has to be a witch that can actually understand what Subaru is going through and or know. And she says, I know what you're going through. I've been watching the whole time. I've been watching your path, but I've had nothing to do with it. And that little line she said in our setup for the ending scene of this episode was the whole line where she's like, I'm the witch of greed. I wish to know everything in this world. And she uses that in a playful way to where didn't you just hear me? I'm the witch of greed. I want to know everything. But the one thing I do know is I've seen what you've gone through, but I don't know who you are up top in your mind. I don't know your stresses. I've seen your struggles, but I don't know your struggles internally. I don't know how. I got to see the path you went down, but I don't know how that path truly affected you. I understand, like Payne said, but I don't truly comprehend. So allow me to know. And the hand on the head, the hand on the face, him looking up. What a beautiful scene. It's a scene I didn't expect. It's a scene that I think all of us need to really just kind of think about. I think we need to rewatch that scene. I think we need to make sure we comprehend as best as we can what Subaru is going through. Because if this episode did anything to me personally, I'm taking a step back. I'm not going to assume that I know who Subaru truly is as a character, because there's going to be much more to him than I even thought. The layer that I saw is the same layer we saw today, but it's a more in-depth one, and I just didn't happen to see it. We didn't happen to see it. That was absolutely exceptional. The music was absolutely amazing. I love how they're even bringing in some new music for this season, and it's just killing it, man. This show, I don't even know what kind of headspace I'm in right now. Maybe you can tell in the tone of my voice. Maybe you can't. But this episode really stumped me. It really just kind of made me think about, what this character's going through. This is the deepest character in anime, and I don't think that's up for a discussion anymore. At least one I'm not willing to have, because I've seen them. I've seen most of the best. I've heard about the deepest, and there's no character that goes this deep, man. That was incredible. So, I mean, I could stay on that scene. I could continue discussing that scene, but I don't know what other, what else I can give you from that scene, because I'm still just trying to, I just, it's so good, man. It's good to have a show that's just so damn special. So let's actually move on to some other things here, and I'm not in the right headspace, so I'm looking down at my notes really quick. So looking at other things that go on in this, the series, we got to look at Beatrice. He needs to say the word still. He also needs to say, I am that person. Who is that person? Are you the person that's going to be her friend? Are you the person that's not going to leave her behind? What kind of person are you, Subaru? I mean, that's the question, because before you say I'm that person, I think it's very, very important that you understand who that person is. Roswal did not speak of who that person is. He would not tell you. He is, of course, once again, indirect. He is, of course, very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? He's very indirect, but he's also someone who's extremely kind of, I don't really know how to put it. He's bland, or says words in a very broad manner that aren't necessarily the most understandable. He wants you to solve a riddle. Everything is almost like a riddle to him. And that's just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's because he thinks that Subaru won't develop unless he sees these, figures out these things himself instead of being spoon-fed things. I'm not really sure. But at the same time, it does make you wonder, is Roswal some kind of witch? Is he not? I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think he is. He has a connection to Echina, the Roswal family. He mentions how they had a great connection to Echina too. I don't know. Roswal just seems odd, and the whole trusting Subaru thing just makes me feel like he's had to know what kind of path Subaru has been going down as well. But we look as well at Beatrice. Her book isn't a gospel. It's not one of those fake ones. So apparently, was Betelgeuse fake? I don't know. That's interesting aspect. I mean, it's an interesting thought, right? That's a very good idea. I don't know. He talks about the other ones being faked and defective, and he's talking about how Beatrice's can read the future and or tells you the future because it's a true gospel. But yet it's not a witch's cult gospel. It's the real deal, he states. So that's interesting. I think I don't know if he said there's two of them. I think he said there's two of them. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure he did actually say there's two of them. So also one scene I do want to discuss with the whole Roswal Subaru scene is actually the scene to where he's just kind of like, your expression does not seem convincing, even though you're trying to say Beatrice is the enemy if she's part of the witch's cult. And what he meant by that, just to make sure people understood that, what he's basically saying is your expression tells it all. Even if she's an enemy, she's not an enemy to you. You care about her. You have feelings. And I mean, yeah, he's exactly 100% and or 100 million% correct in that aspect. Your gestures say it all as a person. And I mean, I think we all know that's been Subaru this whole entire show. But another also very interesting thing is Subaru does not actually, meet his end this episode by Garfield. That stone glows, and you see him get teleported to the future. It shows him, if he does not accomplish what he needs to here, what the outcome is going to be. I mean, that's how I took all of this. Also, if we take a look at another thing in this episode that really kind of just really makes you understand why Subaru snapped, and it's my bad. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have actually said this earlier, but it's the whole scene to where you have Subaru actually losing everyone. Garfield's taking out Ram. Garfield's taking out the villagers. Garfield's taking out the whole, Patricia and Otto, his one person that he truly understood he had a friend. Subaru, all he's needed is a friend. And now you see the villagers are 100% his friends. You see that Ram is actually 100% on his side. You see that Otto is his friend. Yes, Ram may do certain things for just Roswal, but Ram would bat an eye if Roswal told her to do something to Subaru that, of course, allowed Subaru to meet his demise. You can tell she's someone who would bat an eye. So regardless of who she'll listen to, I do consider Ram a friend. And we see Subaru lose everyone, the villagers, the Otto, Ram, and of course we now know that Ram's already gone. He truly has lost everything that he holds dear. And of course with the flash forward, or I guess the trip to the future, we see that he would lose Amelia too, and Roswal and everyone else. And so you got to understand, not only was his rock rim removed from him and only one rock was there to, only one part of the foundation, Amelia, was there left, he completely got his whole building destroyed. Everyone's gone. There is no foundation, not even a hole dug, because it's a crater, because it was destroyed. And that leads into the end of seeing Subaru the way he is. I'm sorry, I should have mixed and blended those two, integrated those two kind of conversations together. But nonetheless, I am happy I was able to get that to you. We also have the final thing I'd wish to talk about, which is the witch factor, our mental states and our attributes, mental state attributes. We see that the one of sloth keeps him very calm, I believe she said. I'm sure the one of envy does another thing, and that could also explain why he's able to get through what he's getting through. These factors are things that can help patch up the weak aspects of Subaru's mindset. And of course, he's getting these weaknesses through the struggle and through the PTSD and everything he's going through. We also need to make sure we pay attention to this. It seems as if he can only earn these attributes after he, once again, overcomes a certain trial and or tribulation. So, like beating Betelgeuse. So it seems as if it's not only is this going to be a test to see if Subaru can pass it, it's a test to where Subaru is going to come out a better person mentally. There's these factors that are maybe they're the things that patch Subaru up that actually make him able to be a freaking person after all of this. Because we see how extra calm he was. We've known Subaru has actually kind of been... Well, I don't want to say he's been calm ever since the whole thing with Betelgeuse, but he has been calm ever since he's gone through everything he's gone through with, of course, Echina. But besides this episode, so we do know there are limitations. He still is human. He's not just going to be calm when random things happen in front of him, but they're things that actually do benefit his character. So... yeah, I want to know more. I wish to know more. I can't wait to know more. I'm happy that Echina is going to allow Subaru to actually have his memories of her even whenever he's not in this world. That's important. That's valuable. This moment means so much to Subaru. And Echina, once again, I'll say it for Subaru this time. Thank you for everything.